Hello and welcome to Breakfast Central. It feels good to be back after Independence Day, although a lot of Nigerians are still in the independent mode.
Really?
Yes, they are.
Who are these Nigerians?
Olive is one of them. Benga Borowa is back on set.
Yes, and it's good that the trio is complete the way we're supposed to be. And we haven't been this complete in a long time. Yesterday, I was looking forward to...
What happened yesterday?
Yeah, so a lot happened to Benga. I think we need to share.
Celebrating Independence Day.
How did you celebrate your Independence Day?
So I was on...
Olive, relax now. This it's giving the vibes of
this investigative journalism.
Yes.
Why are you doing this?
Why were you upset?
Where were you?
Okay, so I woke up early as usual.
We know the story, but it's good to share.
I had my green suit. I wanted to represent Nigerian colors. And Olive, I must say, you look really nice.
Thank you.
Yesterday.
Thank you.
So I was driving to work. While I was putting on my clothes, that's when the rain started. I didn't know it was going to be one of this really heavy.
It was very heavy. Yeah, came with the wind.
Even though it didn't last for long, but I mean the volume of rain yesterday. So I started driving to work. Anyway, you learn from your experiences. So now I know that anytime it rains, I should never follow Kudirat Abiola way. There was a part of the road that was okay. I escaped one, the first one. I should have known. They say it's better safe than sorry.
Yeah.
And then I saw a car go through the second one, and I didn't know it was long. This pool of water, it was really, really long and deep. And I drive a very low car. I need to also reevaluate my purchase choices. That car is not something you should be driving in Lagos.
But it's for the swag,
It's for the swag, You drive it in like a Riviera, in Monaco, in Singapore and places like that. Anyway, so I started pressing my turtle. I was like, God, please let me just go through this. Let me go through this. And I saw the lights were blinking. And just before I got to the tail end, boom, shut off. So I just moved to the side. I'm like, God, what is this? I started calculating the price of an engine in this economy and things like that. But thankfully, I made a call to my mechanic. But I was also
you were drenched.
I was drenched in water. So 2 hours later.
Okay, finish.
2 hours later, I don't want to give them brand recognition, but it's a solid brand. I started the car, and I think water going to the exhaust, and I'm sure by the time the water came out, it started running, and the car has been good. So I need to do Thanksgiving this Sunday.
Those are the things we have to go through. I mean, it's a metropolitan city you live in, and whether you like it or not, this is not the case of I live on the island and on the mainland. When it rains, it pours.
But the roads, if the roads were properly designed, and the drainage system was perfect, there's no way that should happen. Water shouldn't accumulate in different spots, that volume of water. But it's called the City of Aquatic Splendor.
No, you're talking.
Aquatic.
Yes,
means you
that
will be dealing with water things and mami water issues.
I don't know about mami water.
So that's it. Yeah. I'm glad to be here today.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to have you. It's good to have the truth.
Somebody said Nigeria happened to you.
Nigeria. When Nigeria happens to you, there are positive things that happen in Nigeria.
I like that.
You need to change that orientation.
Well,
Nigeria happened to Dangote. He built the largest single train refinery in the world. We're now exporting finished products to the United States of America. That's the type of Nigeria that I want to happen to me, and that's what we should focus on. Bad things happen in different countries. If you say America happens to you, to some people, they will think of the Jim Crow laws, they'll think of segregation, they'll think of slave trade, they'll think of random school shootings and all of that. So
no matter how you try to package it, unfortunately.
No, it's not packaging.
When people say
it's not Nigeria. You should be specific to the incident that is negative and address it.
The story we're about to talk about. The story we're about to talk about.
Generalize the whole Nigeria. Nigeria started in 1914 since the amalgamation, and you can't say everything that has happened in our nationhood from then to now is all.
But what did you think about the president's speech yesterday?
Mr. President exaggerated, or he sounded like he was in an echo chamber, that he doesn't understand the reality of things. And the aspect I'll pick from his speech that I didn't really like is it was being respectfully economical with the truth when it said, you know, we've dealt with terrorism. Like terrorism is gone. Just the way he said subsidy is gone. Terrorism is not gone. Just last week, there was an attack on a mosque in Zamfara State. People were kidnapped. We still have, I mean, he should have said, look, the battle is a continuous one. We have challenges in dealing with terrorism, but by the grace of God and with the work we're putting in, we would overcome. You know, that's still more measured than saying, you know, we've outrightly done, we've dealt with the problems of terrorism, just the way he said in Brazil that there's no corruption in Nigeria anymore. So, I mean,
that's a good one. One of the questions I was asking some colleagues in the industry was, if you were to write the president's speech on October 1st, what would you have focused on? What were the key pointers that were missing, or some of the things that you would have highlighted, which ordinarily would give the Nigerian, or the average Nigerian who's on the street, some form of respite, hope, and belief. And some of the things that did take place yesterday, the president also commissioning the all-important theatre in Gomu. And then
the Wole Soyinka Centre for Arts and Creative Art.
Wole Soyinka also making a very, people called it a speech that was questionable, where he had talked about, he accepted it. However, he was also quite indifferent on certain things. When you talk to the Nobel laureate and he shares his points, you don't know which area, from which angle is going to come from. But talking about the speech, back to the president's speech, I was expecting to hear about the police officers who had protested and that they would eventually be paid. I was expecting to hear a reform, state police, to ensure that security is heightened. I was expecting to hear no more spending from government coffers.
That one, yes.
Reduce spending. Now they've set up a new committee that would review all the budgets, policies, and spending.
No, I didn't want to hear committee. I'm tired of committees.
Besides, I'm tired of
so
committees.
Basically saying, this is how government has reduced spending. We've cut down on this and that. We've saved so and so, and we've repurposed the money into this. Basically giving evidence as to why the people should understand. Because the major pushback we hear when the presidency says, give us a little more time, things will get better, the policies will start to take effect, is the fact that citizens don't believe that the government and them are on the same side. Citizens believe that the government is on one end of the divide, saying, do as I say, but don't do as I do.
The case of Richmond and Lazarus.
Exactly. So if the government can come and say, this is how we've cut spending, we have stopped doing this, we've stopped these allowances, we've stopped these unnecessary payments in a bid for us to cut costs on our own part, we are together. I think citizens will
I totally agree with Olive. It's almost like the sacrifice happened only on the citizens' end. And this surplus money that they're getting is just for them to finance their lifestyle and lavish and their bloated budget. They're not cut from their own end, and this is why there's a trust deficit between the people and the government. They need to show that, look, we're also tightening our belt and we're also part of the sacrifice to make money better. And the extra savings that we're making for subsidy removal should go into welfare projects, and not welfare in terms of giving people fish today and not teaching them how to fish. It should be investment in education, hospitals, and also infrastructure, and also create an enabling environment. We also need to go into production. Production is a win-win situation. You save money from importing, you also create employment, and you stimulate economic growth. So we need to really focus on that and do that.
All right, let's now get to our wake-up conversations. This is a conversation that we will talk about because it cannot be overflogged. Earlier when we were speaking about Nigeria happening to us, Benga was giving the positive angle to it. But the truth is, the current explanation or interpretation of may Nigeria not happen to you is not positive, it's negative. And it's the same sentiment that Somtochukwu Maduagwu had when she put out this tweet before she died. She put out a tweet saying, may Nigeria not happen to me or anyone that I care about. That was the tweet that she put out. Unfortunately, she's no more. And what happened? This young woman was attacked. Her apartment where she lived was attacked in the Katampe area of Abuja, and the reports have it that she jumped out of her building in order to escape the robbers. And she died. Now, there have been multiple reports. We hear that she didn't die on the spot, that she fell face flat on the concrete and was found out by a neighbor, and that she was taken to the hospital. We hear that, they were asking for, the hospital was asking for I don't know what the information was. Police report, identification. We hear, we cannot confirm this, but we hear that the police were saying that they didn't have fuel. Again, when we say that in Nigeria not happen to you, it's that when you are in a time of need, that the systems will work in your favor to be able to ensure that you get the help that you need. So let's backtrack.
Okay.
The cable newspaper had gone on site to do investigation to see what may have gone wrong. And the journalist reported that, first of all, they had no CCTV. For an apartment where you're paying about 5 million naira for a 2-bedroom apartment, the CCTV cameras were not working. The cable also reported that at the night of the attack, the inverters were down, leaving a number of their apartments in darkness on the night of the attack. And you ask yourself, why do you pay this much and you're not able to get the barest minimum? The barest minimum in this case should be security. Even the fact that this could happen in the seat of power, the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, should be the safest place in the country because that is the seat of power. But unfortunately, this young woman has had her life snuffed out of her. A bright, shining light, a former pageant queen, TV anchor with the Rise News. She had just gotten off her shift, according to reports, that night and went home, unfortunately, to her death. And now the nation has been thrown in mourning. Her family will never get over the pain. What the work that she's been doing over the years and the potential that the future had for her. She can't explore any of that anymore because her voice has been snuffed out because of insecurity. So when we say that we are winning the war against insecurity, Somtochukwu Maduagwu's death is a reminder that we have a long way to go. A promising young woman gone, just like that.
It's sad. It's a sad situation. It's a sad instance that took place, or what happened. It's also sad in the sense that this is a young, promising individual who is also a Nigerian. And I think I did stumble on one of our videos where she said she could have chosen to say she's from the United Kingdom but she chose to because she's partly. And
her friends said she was fiercely patriotic, that she used to carry Nigeria.
Exactly. Yeah. I think I also came across that, and now it's happened, and you can only wonder who's next, because that's the question you're going to ask: who's next? And if you look through the entire timeline right before her death, you would see that social media has been agog with a lot of incidences bordering on insecurity. I don't know if you guys saw the video of the lady her husband in Kwara State was just in front of her, and she was crying, she was videoing and saying, and she was laying curses on those who killed him. People who were kidnapped along the road, just traveling. Kwara State.
The girl that was recently called to bar.
Yeah.
That was kidnapped.
Yeah, thankfully she's been released.
Exactly. So you're having repeated instances, and Nigerians have decided to do the job as well for the security operatives or officers by taking videos, showing you what they're going through, which ordinarily I should be. Benga, my question is, what really stops the president or the government itself from calling a state of emergency on insecurity? Looking at the key states,
it's the primary responsibility. It's in the Constitution.
It's taking the lives of every citizen, one at a time,
of every government. And coming out on Independence Day to say that we've surpassed the problem of insecurity.
No, we've not.
It's a slap on the face of millions of Nigerians, and it's almost like driving in a dagger into their heart, especially at this time in our nationhood. Like I said earlier, they're countries with challenges, will overcome them, but just wishing it away or being being economical with the truth is not the way to go. And like you said, we need to declare a state of emergency. And from Olive's cataloging the chain of events that happened, and may her soul rest in peace, Somi Maduagwu, very terrible incident. And this is where every Nigerian has a role to play, and every government agency. There's a consumer protection agency, and we need to stop saying, oh, I don't want to complain because they will say my wahala is too much. I have paid a certain amount for service. I deserve to get it. If that company, if the accommodation isn't paying, Lagos State has a Lagos State Consumer Protection Agency, and they're very active. You can go there and complain that, look, I'm not getting proper service delivery. I'm sure many residents there would have complained to management and the, what do you call those people?
Estate management.
The estate people.
Estate residents, the estate agents.
Yes, the estate, the guys in charge of
management,
exactly, the estate management, that this is not working. And, you know, they always tell them we're working on it, we're doing something. I think we should hold on to people. If you've paid money for a service, you should get it. Because why are the inverters down? I'm sure there's why was the CCTV not working?
Yeah, Somto was not the only casualty.
The security too.
Yeah, Somto was not the only casualty. There was also a security man, Barnabas, who tried to stand up to the police officers, and Barnabas was killed by the robbers. So she wasn't the only casualty. You know, so again, it brings up the issue of safety and security. If your home is the place where you should feel the most secure. When you go out to the chaos that the world has, you come back home. Your home should be a place where you feel safe and secure. If home isn't safe for us anymore, then where is?
Sani Yusuf was giving details on X about what happened because he was right there and he knew every single thing that took place. And this is one of his tweets where he said, also, we must not forget Barnabas, our armed security officer who tried to fight off the invaders but was shot in that attempt. I personally drove him to the hospital to get treated. I watched him pass on right in front of me hours later as he lost too much blood. He leaves behind a small family with one child. Side note, our hospital emergency staff and services are really not ready, man. But that's for another day. You guys need to stop peddling information that is untrue. I personally paid for and filled her Barnabas's form. And I brought her ID to the hospital. The hospital never delayed treating anyone. Okay,
thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, I have my personal grip with them for how they handle the emergency, but stop spreading information that is not true. So there are also statements that the hospital had tried their best. Unfortunately, these very patriotic
would have been 30 in December, on the 26th of December. She's a lawyer, former model. She was first runner-up Miss Tourism in 2023. She was a woman that had so much potential, and then she joined the Arise team as a TV host and a producer. And you just think of all the dreams that she had. She's an alumna of the SPPG, the School of Politics and Public Governance. And you just think of the dreams that she had for the country. She was a diligent storyteller, passionate about women's representation in politics. Again, what is the value of this Nigerian life?
I think that's a question we should actually dissect on Breakfast Central. What's the value of a Nigerian life? It's very key because when we speak with the current administration, when they come here with us, sit with us in the studio, they tell you one key thing I always hear every now and then. I mean, I'm going to talk to Benga and Olive, which we know, and I'm sure our viewers also realize. They will tell you in America, they also have challenges, that they're shooters, they've killed students, that there's so many things that you don't hear about in America. We agree. So does that mean that if they have challenges, okay, we should therefore fold our arms and say, yeah, after all, it's normal.
Other countries have challenges. I think, Joe, the question should be, what value does the Nigerian government place on a Nigerian life?
That's it.
Because we ordinary citizens know the value of Nigerian lives, because the ease and the quickness at which they move on, regardless of the numbers. Look at Kwara. I don't think we've even seen a press release.
There's no press release. Nothing has been said about Kwara up until now.
In Zamfara also. We have this ostrich mentality of, and then when something happens in European or American society, the government would issue condolences on behalf of the Nigerian government.
Can you even just see the way in which, I mean, no death is more important than another. But you see the way in which Charlie Kirk's death has been made an issue. We're getting updates. You know, you're getting minute by minute updates. Yes. The investigations have been carried out. Yes, he was an influential person. I think that we need to also employ systems like that here, where we let citizens know that your life matters. You have value. Sometimes I try to stay away from some of these stories because they make me so sad. Yeah. They make me feel so helpless because it's just, you imagine the helplessness these people feel in their moment. This Somto story in particular, I tried to avoid as many videos as I could because it was triggering. It was sad to watch.
I mean, you have a lot in common. I mean, she's somebody.
She's a lawyer. She's our colleague.
Yes.
You know, it's just sad. And I could see the Arise team when they were talking about it, how they could barely string words and sentences together. And it could be anybody. It really could be anybody. So the only way that we can honor Somto's memory is to ensure that an investigation is carried out and that the people who carried out that attack are arrested and made to face the law. Because they did not just commit a robbery.
But let's take a listen to the FCT police commissioner, and then we'll be back.
Regarding the circumstances surrounding the incident, to set the record straight, some Udnon, armed robbers specifically, gained access into unique apartment where Somi lives. A twin 3-story 18-flat apartment around the Gilshiri end of Katampe under Mabushi divisional area. At this point in time, 2 guards were on duty, security men. These are private guard. And one of them, who had the courage to challenge, sustained a gunshot. Under this condition, you know the panic that will have resulted from this kind of environment. So me actually occupied an apartment on the topmost floor of the building. And out of the fear, she jumped down from that 3rd story, the top floor. The consequences is what we are seeing. It's so sad, so unfortunate. This rescue call was ready to the command control room. Policemen moved to the scene. What they could see, the unconscious body of Somi on the floor. They picked her there and then and took her to my Tama General Hospital, where the doctor on duty tried as much as possible to see whether they can resuscitate her using the CPR. It's unfortunate. He couldn't make it. And that was the story. But what are we doing at our end here? We've set up a specific investigation team headed by the Deputy Commissioner of Police Investigation, with all the tactical components required to unravel the whole situation with a view to tracking down the culprit responsible for this dastardly act. The leads we are getting, we're already working on it. No stone will be left unturned to ensure that the perpetrators are tracked and brought to justice. And the result of the investigation will be made known to.
And that was the interview there. By the way, that interview was done on Arise TV, and that's a quick explanation of what happened and what the police
from
actually
a law
did,
enforcement angle,
especially reacting to that. But let's see if we have tweets, what Nigerians are saying concerning the death, and what we too from here would be able to react to, especially this one. High Priest says the commissioner must know that Abuja is once again sliding into 23, like where criminals besieged the FCT until Igwe was deployed to FCT. Can they ask him how he did it? Robbers in Katampe in a matter of time will enter Maitama and Asokoro, if not already. That's someone taking it back to 2023 where there was a different CP on seat. Somi goes ahead to say the Nigerian state has failed you and many others once again. One of the fundamental objectives of government is to provide security for her citizens. From Kwara, Zamfara, Niger State, Katsina, Anambra, Imo, Benue, blood of her citizens flow. The only thing they do is politics and state capture. My condolences to Somi's and Arise News family. May God protect our journalist, ENO. And Gerald says, no word about Barnabas, the security guard who lost his life and they attacked the Nigerian police is always 10,000 steps behind. Since you choose to use Somi's death for PR, publicly investigate and catch the culprits of the killers of both victims. People don't die every day.
Okay, that's all. And from what I can, all I can say is, may the failure of the Nigerian state not happen to you.
Why are you remixing it?
Yeah, I mean, he said he's not going to say Nigeria.
No, the Nigerian state, people that are responsible for certain duties,
services, governance.
Also, may their failure not affect, may it not happen to us.
Yeah.
All right, we still have one more tweet. Let's take First Lady. The First Lady, Senator Bola Tinubu says, I woke up to the sad news of the unfortunate and timely death of one of our young and brilliant minds in the journalism profession, Somtochukwu Maduagwu. Her death is painful and quite unfortunate. She has been cut down in her prime. I condole with the chairman, Arise News Media, Chief Nduka Obaibena, her family, friends, colleagues, and loved ones. It is my hope and prayer that the perpetrators will be apprehended as soon as possible and brought to book. May her soul rest in peace, and may God give her family and all her dear ones the fortitude to bear the irreplaceable, and that's what it is. It truly is an irreplaceable loss. Senator Oluremi Tinubu. All right, we have Eddie Joe. Eddie Joe says, it's Somtochukwu today. We don't know who is next victim of bad governance tomorrow. We need to prioritize safety and security in Nigeria, and it will begin with our leaders. The state of insecurity in this country is alarmingly high, and it's not looking good. That's from Eddie Joe. And
honest guy says, FCT Minister Nyesom Ezenwo-Wike should bear the responsibility for the tragic loss of Somtochukwu Maduagwu in her home, as leadership is accountable for both successes and failure. My deepest condolences go to Arise News, her family and friends. Her promising life cut short is unacceptable. Security reflects leadership. Act now. Light the streets.
exactly.
Light the streets. Deploy time
Lagos is listening
controls. Install cameras and number plate recognition at the entry points. Enforce estate security standards. Establish a fast response emergency line under 7 minutes. And publish weekly crime and arrest data. Very important. Fund effective measures. Fix street lights within 48 hours. That's the second time is mentioned street lights. And ensure visible deterrence. Make Abuja safe day and night. Honor Somi's memory with tangible results. And that's
I think this is like,
Olive said, that the only way this death, it shouldn't be a death in vain. It should be a wake-up call for the authorities to step up and implement some of the security measures that have been suggested.
Iname also waded into it. He says, my heartfelt condolence to Arise TV, the family, friends, and associates of Arise TV News anchor, reporter, and producer. Goes there to mention a name, and then he, okay, I can see. They says the tragic death is both heart-wrenching and devastating. A young lady has been killed in her prime by murderers who are not of any use to the society. Somi had dreams. She wanted to make impact, and she did make impact on the society. This is yet another sad occasion that has reminded us of the tragedy of experiencing the failure of the Nigerian government. The fact that this horrible crime was committed in the heart of the nation's capital speaks to the collapse of the Nigerian security architecture. Nigeria has happened to Somi. Rest in peace, he says, Leonard Friend.
And that's
it's sad.
The final tweet this morning. Let us respect the facts in the case involving Arise TV's Somtochukwu Maduagwu. After listening to the accounts of the Commissioner of Police for the Federal Capital Territory, Ajawa Adewale, about the incidents that led to the unfortunate death of Arise TV news anchor Somtochukwu Maduagwu, one can see how fake news spread by enemies of Nigeria seeking to capitalize on a human tragedy can one day ignite social unrest and crisis. First, it is now known that the claims that the police vehicle that responded to the emergency did not have fuel in its car are false. Secondly, it was the police who took Ms. Maduagwu to the hospital, contrary to media reports and social commentary claims. This was done by good Samaritans and people who were being neighborly. Thirdly, the hospital in question, Maitama General Hospital, did not reject her or ask for ID or police report before treating her. How could they, when the police brought her to the facility, they initiated a CPR procedure on her or could not revive her? Fourthly, the immediate cause of the death of Ms. Maduagwu was not the robbery, though it is the remote cause. She died from injuries sustained after she jumped from a flat in a state of panic. All right, that's all. That's all that we can take on this tweet.
Why do we try to politicize things?
I mean,
due respect to
you
Mr.
really
Reno
don't have to make commentary on
Mr. Reno, to be honest with Mr. Reno, I think it's not everything you comment on. You have the right to be a national commentator, social commentator, but take politics away from it and just make your point.
I think the only thing I would say is those men, and I really liked Inibehe's tweet when he referred to them as murderers, because they're murderers. They killed Sumi. They may not have directly killed her by pointing a gun at her, but they killed her by instilling in fear. Well. You attack a person and you don't. It's just like beating a child and telling them not to cry. When I was in school, they taught us something called the eggshell skull principle, which means you take your victim as you see him. If you slap a person and the person falls down and dies, you can't say it's just a slap.
You initiated the action.
You will not. You may not be treated as a murder, but it will be treated as a manslaughter. Yes, the intent, the action. I think it's the actus reus.
The mens rea.
Oh, that's good. You know that.
Yeah.
You know, but the
he tried taking a course in law, just that he was too focused on.
He doesn't know it. I know it.
Well done.
I love that friend.
But the action, you know, the physical action led to this unfortunate incident. So they should be found. The only way that Somtochukwu Maduagwu's memory will be honored is by ensuring that these robbers/murderers are found and made to face the law, and to also ensure that we make Nigeria safe. People are paying premium for security, living in estates, and yet you can't even guarantee security. So even if you live in the seemingly most secure estate, there's no guarantee.
Premium, it's just no guarantee. That's just what it's saying.
Your money
and
cannot
it's a failure on the estate's part, a multiple chain of failures. The FCT also needs to step up. Why do you have dark places in many parts of the country? Why are street lights almost
yes, it had a security. But how many security can you put?
For 15 apartments.
How many can you put? And are these security, how many estates? Let's look at even our estates in Lagos. How many of our estates have armed security men? It's the regular security that will do access.
Because Nigerians don't even, I mean, security, the right to bear arms is another, the best they can do is they have patrols that come maybe every hour or 2 hours, or they make distress calls they have quick distress calls to the police command.
To my dear colleagues, yeah. I think I'm still going to say it. I mean, that's why Wake Up Conversation on Breakfast Central is an opinion platform for us to also express what we think about some of these stories. I think until we call for a state of emergency on insecurity, we are about to see a whole lot go up in flames. And I do not mince my words. Don't take my words for it. Just go and see what is happening everywhere as we speak. And that's why when the president spoke yesterday, part of the things we're expecting to hear was that going forward, we would initiate XYZ. Maybe he would leave that to the security advisor, okay? And if the NSA doesn't do anything, especially in Abuja, then we know that there's trouble.
Well, we'll continue to follow the case. I don't think that this is a story that was allowed to.
I have one more thing to say
with
regards to this incident is for the government and the authorities in charge. Once they stop looking at this incident as, oh, there's pockets of violence here and there, and they start looking at it from an economic point of view in terms of the army, millions of Nigerian youths without jobs, then, because that's the best way to take care of insecurity. If people are well engaged, if they're productively engaged, you won't have time to think of armed robbery and joining gangs and all of that. So there should be a national security emergency on unemployment, on getting people off the street.
And I agree with you on that. And, you know, as we wrap up this conversation, I want to quickly touch on another, but say that on behalf of all of us here at News Central Television, we extend our condolences to the Arise TV family, every single member of the Arise TV News, because we understand that it's such a sad time for you. And also to the family of Somtochukwu Maduagwu, the friends. We've seen our friends pour tributes on social media. It's a sad story. It's a sad way to die. And we hope and pray and will continue to hold our government to account that the memory of Somtochukwu Maduagwu is honored by doing the right thing and bringing these offenders to face the law. But insecurity, you know, might be the least of our problems. That's what former President Olusegun Obasanjo says. He says that by 2050, that Boko Haram will be the least of our problems. It will continue like this. He said this while he was launching an ICT facility in Sokoto, and he said that with the way that our population is growing, that in 2050 will be about 400 million Nigerians. So if now we're not able to cater to the audience that we have, what happens when we've come to 400 million people? That then Boko Haram will be the least of our problems. And he's saying that there needs to be some measure of population control. And I don't know what people think about that. We've seen this happen in different parts in Iran, in China. China had the one-child policy up until like recently, where it then says that, okay, you can have only one child, but the reason was they were trying to manage their population. It had an adverse effect later because we then saw that they had a much older population and there wasn't a middle age, and then they lifted it. But they were able to find some balance. So is that something we should probably explore?
I mean, it's very dicey when it comes to Nigeria because there's the religious aspect to it. I mean, Christians will say, they will quote the Bible and say, go and multiply. And then Muslims will also refer to their religious text and say, you shouldn't be able to control this sort of things. That's, you know, it's God that gives children. But what we need to do as a country is, there's jingles that we used to hear in the 1990s and 80s.
Family planning. The late Oyekawenu and King Sonny.
Oh yes, and wait for me.
Wait for me.
If you love me, you go
wait for me. Then we use that
what
for.
we're seeing, and these days, it's those that are in the lower
echelons of
society economically are the ones that tend to have
but that's
more
how it
children.
is, that's how it is. Poor man.
But you wouldn't think, I mean, because you don't
time
have the means to take care of children.
No.
Why are you having
because
children?
first of all,
from a logical perspective,
yes, but the thing is,
And that's
they are
when they go
bored.
out,
They are poor. Intercourse is like entertainment for them in that
to quote my
I wouldn't really say
to quote my former colleague here at News Central, Nelly Kalu, she said, a poor Nigerian man is a dangerous sex machine. So, I mean, but these are serious issues that former President Obasanjo has raised, and they will have serious economic, social, security implications for us as a country if we don't begin to address it now. Because we don't have long-term plans. We look at the next electoral cycle. Who is planning?
That's what I was going to. Have you guys realized something? I mean, I don't know. I know we've been on breakfast. This is going to about 3 to 4 years now. Have you realized that majority of the conversations that are very big in terms of conversations are always bordering on politics, where we're going
or things that are happening just right now.
Even after the politics, it's still about politics. Who's politicking? Like we're talking about 2027, we're talking about that for a long time.
Most of the politics is about the individuals, what they will do. We don't talk policy, long-term policy.
Policies are hanging in the balance.
It's why I would say, and then again, it's not just about the politicians. I think that those who are in the other arms of government, well, they're also politicians in some sense, the lawmakers, right? It's just that when we think about this, we often think about the president, we think about governors. Lawmakers are a very key tool in facilitating this change. If I, for example, become a lawmaker and I say, you know what, I'm going to push for a bill to ensure that we protect the rights of, you know, or we ensure that there's some sort of policy that protects children. You know that if you give birth to more than a certain number of children and you can't cater for them, the government will take your children from you. When you know that, you probably, I mean, I'm not saying that I will do that. I'm just thinking of...
In America, they will take care of them, but in Nigeria...
But in China, I think they the penalty was to pay a fine and you lose some access to government
Certain
services. Yeah.
But what access do we have?
So,
In the first place.
and China is not the only one. You know, Thailand has done it. Peru, I think Peru's one was a bit forced, where there's like some sort of forced sterilization. There have been different countries in the world that have advocated for this. But here in Nigeria, our challenges are a lot. You mentioned the religious challenges. There are some religions that don't believe in using contraceptive. So if they don't believe in using contraceptive and you are being intimate with your spouse, of course, pregnancy will follow you.
You're playing with a loaded gun.
Exactly. Pregnancy will follow you. And when they get pregnant, of course, because of the conversation about abortion, and in many faiths, it's frowned upon, and the legality of it is still another conversation. So that's not an option. They will
But we're
keep
not
having
even
babies.
trying the subtle approach. The orientation agency should be talking about family planning, and the soft.
It used to be
ways
very
of
heavy
being
in the
persuasive.
90s.
I think that is also an offshoot of part of our pre-colonial struggles. Families, the larger your family, the many more hands you would have to help you in the farm. So you had more wives, you had more children, you had more people who would go help you tend to your crops.
We live in a different world.
Exactly. We live in a completely different world where we've embraced Western education and global best practices. So it's not like you're having many children that are going to help you in the farm.
But I can guarantee you that as the years go by, there's also a clear sense by a few people that the statement made by the former president will not be absolute truth. And I'll state so because if you ask a younger generation, like our generation today, I don't know how many kids would you love to have?
Yeah, but you are looking at your demographics. If you go to different parts of the country,
wouldn't want to go.
where urban city dwellers.
Even when I tell
you go
people
to
that
the
I want to
village-
have 3 kids, if you see the way they look at me, like,
Yeah, I
I
mean, your parents
that's a
will
lot.
have
That's
10.
a lot.
That's a lot. That's a lot. So all of that is also, people are looking at it in the offing. Now, we're not certain that there will be an overpopulation. But the point is, what the former president has said is that we should start planning now. We have the issues of the Amajiris. We have out-of-school children. We have, like you've mentioned, economically, you have people who are just roaming. We did something. Let me also mention this on TV as we look to wrap up. We did something just last week. We're driving on the island. We're in search of, we're trying to look for some things to buy for a project. And just right in the car, a friend said, you know what, let's start counting the number of guys we would see just walking on the road aimlessly in groups. Binga. Guess what? We counted so many. These were young boys who were just roaming the streets, some of them in Lekki, they were just walking, some of them in groups of 5, 7, some you could tell from their faces they were stoned. And you wonder, okay, in the next 5, 10 years, what would happen to these young individuals? And I think these are the things that, countries are starting to look into. They're thinking ahead, they're providing alternatives, and so on and so forth. But let's see what Nigerians are saying concerning what the former president had to say about Nigeria's unchecked overpopulation. Ed Jacobs says, sir, he calls him on X, with respect, Nigeria gave you 2 chances to lead, and twice you squandered the opportunity to build enduring institutions, empower citizens, transform the country, and set a moral compass for governance. Now you speak of 2050 as if you were a prophet, yet the seeds of today's insecurity, economic fragility, and institutional decay were sown under your watch, both as military man and as civilian. You were not a bystander, you were an architect of all the issues facing Nigeria. The Nigerian people are not a problem to be managed. They are a resource to be unleashed. I love that. I love that. What we need is not more apocalyptic warnings from retired statesmen, but accountability, humility, vision, and space for new leadership rooted in integrity and innovation. You had your time. Nigeria needs builders now, not alarmists. Please, sir, retire with your grace and continue to enjoy part of Nigeria's dividends.
So Ed Jacobs there is attacking the messenger and not the message. And he's very optimistic. He said, there's no cause for alarm. Why are you being alarmist? But I would say, look, my pendulum would swing more towards the alarmist side of it. But look, it's not alarm. This is a clear and present danger that we need to deal with. So a vast number of the energy he used in that tweet was on the former president. I wish he was addressing the issues.
But Benga, I also looked at a statement he made there. He said, what we need is not an apocalyptic warning. He said, the Nigerian people are not a problem to be managed. They are a resource to be unleashed. And I thought about this. There is no country you go to.
Employed Nigerian citizens.
But there's no country you go to that you wouldn't find a Nigerian, at least one who is doing well. What if we flip the coin and say, could it be that our population is for our own benefit?
Yes, it could be. But how much of your population is educated, is upstanding,
so that's why we need to
the tax net and all of that? That's when you will say our population is something to be unleashed. Not 10 million out of school kids, not people in multidimensional poverty. You want to unleash millions of people in multidimensional poverty. Let's deal with those issues, and then we'll have a population.
Like termites, they will eat anything. They will clear anything that comes in their path.
Let's make Nigerians more productive.
Okay. Etiobong Edem says he's saying the obvious truth, which is very critical. An example of how a progressively thinking nation should be thinking and acting. Unfortunately, Nigeria isn't a progressively thinking nation as it stands now. Well, that could be debated. Imagine from the Baba that later converted the farmland and marked in Ota, Ogun State for the Operation Feed the Nation policy as his personal estate till date.
There is God.
There is God.
So that's attacking the messenger, not the message. Yeah.
Haha, I laughed in Peking English. Were you trying to say Pidgin English? Anyway, the Baba who sold all Nigerian companies and assets worth over $160 billion for under $5 billion. It's on his regime that the aluminium smelting plants built by the military regime with $3.5 billion was sold for $130 million.
I'm not sure how someone has been sold. So let's be careful.
Let's be careful with that information, although there's a lot of information on that still circulating till date.
But anyway, now, we never had a national policy or roadmap to stem our exponential population growth. It will be catastrophic one day. If the growth continues like this, we ought to have started plans to reduce the population growth since, but still not too late at official BAT.
You know, there's one critical aspect that we've missed in this conversation so far. It's the use of population for politics.
God bless you.
A lot of governments and leaders will want, for electioneering purposes, that, oh, I have this huge population, that's why resources will come my way in terms of revenue allocation and all of that. So it's also in the mix and in the dimension. And we also need to have a population census.
I was going to mention that. Can we say for sure how many Nigerians we are? No. Can we say for sure how many people are in each state? At least, of course, we can't get the exact number.
Do you remember this song?
Can we get a close range?
When we're teenagers. Okay, I can't say the same. Remember when I was a teenager, you were a baby.
You have not born me that time.
In a country of 120 million. Who sang that song? Sultan.
More population.
See, we are the same generation, right?
That was
more population than 60 billion. Divide that one by 120 million altogether.
You see,
mathematics. But that was then.
Now, what's the latest you've heard?
I think
if you could put an estimate.
I don't know.
I've heard 250 million recently.
So it's usually pegged at that, around 230, 240.
So I think again,
and so on.
It lets us know that that's something we need to look at.
Why have we not
an actual population census?
So we can plan.
And what happened to the monies that were doled out
before the end of the Buhari administration?
Exactly. Buhari administration, where they had employed the services of
they even bought
coppers, they bought equipment. Nobody's talking about those equipment. Where are they? The monies that were given, the youth corpers that were taken and gathered for training, some of them that they sent abroad to go and learn how to carry out this population census, and the dollars that they spent. And yet,
okay, I think I'll do an investigative piece on that.
Please
You've just given me a challenge, and we'll look into it.
I'm proud of you for doing that. Thank you very much.
Let me do it first.
Okay, let's just quickly look on YouTube and take one or two comments before we head out of here to share you our top stories. Good morning. Good morning to everyone on YouTube. Good morning, Remi Adeleke. I'm seeing here, I read that the lift that killed the other lady in the secretariat is still bad after 2 years.
Oh, yes. I saw that too.
Not secretariat.
The hospital, the medical hall,
the residential hall.
Oh, my goodness.
Till today. I think I saw someone put that up as well.
They don't seem to believe the police chief story. Say police chief story is not clear. How can she jump from the third floor? Well, I think maybe the way to explain that would just be the panic.
Yeah.
Somebody says, why did she jump? I'm like, there we go.
You can't question or fear of rape or
exactly. I was saying you can't.
She's been working.
You can't question
different things. She's tired.
You can't question her instincts in that moment because you're thinking of, first of all, they can shoot me. Maybe if I jump, I'll have a better chance. You can think they can rape me.
Yeah.
You know, and it's even worse. As a person, as a human, it's bad enough. As a woman, it's worse. Seeing over 10 men, even 2 men is enough for you to lose your senses out of, fear. We see here, well, they say sorry about your ordeal, life in Lagos. May Somi's soul rest in peace. Seems we shouldn't pray for Nigeria not to happen to us because it has eventually happened to some persons who said that prayer.
Failure of the Nigerian state should not happen to us. The failure of the Nigerian state.
May her soul rest in peace. May the soul of Barnabas rest in peace. And may the offenders be brought to face the law. Let's now share with you our top stories this morning on Breakfast Central. This morning on Breakfast Central, we still will be assessing Nigeria's economic growth at 65, going off the back of the official celebration of the independence yesterday. Lagos State government counters Peter Obi over trade fair demolition claim. We'll still be looking at the tragic death of journalist with Arise TV, Somtochukwu Maduagwu, and the national controversy it has sparked, as well as the failings where necessary. We'll be looking at the reaction of citizens to Nigeria's independence as we celebrate our 65th year. The newspaper front pages will be a key part of the show. Join us for these and more.
Welcome back to Breakfast Central. The Lagos State government recently carried out demolition of several structures at the Aspamda section of the trade fair complex in Ojo. Traders, many of whom claimed to have invested heavily in these properties, were left devastated. Some say they had valid approvals, others insisted they were blindsided.
The Lagos State government recently carried out this demolition, and many of them claim to have heavily invested in these properties, and they were left devastated. Of course, we have been following up with this story, and we are going to be bringing you more updates. You can see the clips there. But the Labour Party's 2023 presidential candidate visited the site, condemning the demolitions as a test of impunity, justice, and compassion. He argued that many of the traders had obtained legitimate building approvals and were now facing ruin, some having taken loans to build their businesses. Yesterday, we had the Labour Party gubernatorial candidate join us for the gubernatorial candidate at the last elections, but was rival, who's now with the ADC. He joined us yesterday to talk about Nigeria at 65. And when we talked about this, he did speak, because I remember asking him a question about he should paint a picture of the Lagos he wants to see when we're talking about Nigeria at 66, and the Nigeria he wants to see when we're talking about Nigeria at 66. And he says one 65. That is, no, we just celebrated Nigeria at 65. We're talking about the next 1 year, that what he would love to see. And he said he wants to see a Lagos State that is empathetic, a Nigeria that is empathetic to the plight of its citizens, especially because putting up buildings, it's very expensive to get building approvals, to get land, and then to erect this property. He was of the opinion that the government is very quick to bring down as opposed to building up. And that part of the argument was that these buildings were on top of the canal, and that upon their own investigation, he confirmed that it wasn't on top of the canal. So that's what he said. And the question now is, how exactly did they get these approvals?
Yeah, and some of those, like from what you read, they said that the victims affected by this demolition said they have building approvals. Where did these building approvals come from? Who approved their plans? What ministry? And how much notice period was given to them? And there's also the overall argument that, okay, why is enforcement, why do you wait for a complete structure to go up, a solid building completed, before you start this demolition exercise? It can only be done out of wickedness. I mean, so many issues to unpack.
You have the Lagos State Building Control Agency, which was established in 2010 and took full effect in 2012. And you wonder if they are actually working. you know. And these are the things that you wonder. And how come it is that after the building had been completed, it's much more like someone was waiting for it to be built and completed before you say, okay, go ahead and let's it. Because there's no other explanation to that. You cannot tell anyone that they are not aware. Who would be so foolish, let me use the word foolish, to have put his money to build and construct the videos that you saw on the screen there, and then wait, hoping that they will not demolish it.
For the government to show, like for example, they recently demolished an estate, or the back of an estate that was on the drainage channel. You could see drone images, and you could clearly see the outline of the canal that was meant to channel water out of for the entire area. You could see that there was a clear contravention. It would be nice if the Lagos state government can equally show us where the contravention is with this demolitions and outline the original plan and the canal. That goes to speak on transparency, so we don't have people come up with all sorts of rumors or assumptions if there's a clear violation of law.
Well, there are other rumors that it's also politically driven, because it's been said that some persons who are part of the, in quotes, owners of these buildings and businesses are actually from the Igbo tribe. So here we go again, another ethnic conversation has erupted concerning this, that you do have some of the chairmen who are not of the natives, or who are not Lagosians. You know, there's a lot of angles peddling from here to there, but I think it's very key that Lagos State eventually deals with this issue, or these issues. Don't allow people build, so therefore don't give them permits to build. But why wait till after they fully furnished and built, then you wait for some time and then come and destroy? And then when people see this, you now say, we are calling for investors to come and invest. Yeah. If I have my money here,
Lagos is open for business.
It's open for business. How is it open for business? Because these same people have papers. They have documents showing that, listen, we got approvals to build here. How come you're telling us that after these approvals, after a period of time, a long time, we built, we did foundation, we stocked, we bought? Do you know how much it is to build a property now?
And the timeline also, before the structures go up.
I always say that we have different levels of disaster. We have fire disaster, but then we have human-induced disaster, and this is one of them. Because what difference is this from the people who lost? Well, those ones, maybe they didn't have enough time to get their things out, but it feels just as terrible.
Earthquakes.
Exactly as terrible as earthquakes,
this is our own natural
or as
disaster.
bad as the Lagos fire that happened. You know, these are people's dreams, their lives. They've invested in this. How, like you said, how do we convince people to invest? Even as a person in Nigeria, you're thinking of buying a property and you're scared, because you can buy a property that has good title. In the next 10 years, the government will come and tell you that this property, you know, you didn't get the proper title. So can we have,
which is happening now,
specifics on how people can protect themselves? Because real estate is still a viable sector, and people will still want to invest in it. But if they continue to see demolitions, they will not be encouraged to invest in it.
I'm glad you mentioned the investment angle of it. As we speak, there's a group of Nigerian diasporas that want a particular woman. She said the realignment of the coastal highway has affected her estate. She has certain acres there. She's claiming $200 million in compensation. And the federal government, the Minister of Works, Dave Umahi, is offering about $60 million for the demolition of a gatehouse. So it's dragging, there's a back and forth with it. So we really need to take a deeper look at this thing.
Absolutely.
It's not just a Nigerian thing. If we're going to be asking for investments, then we need to, foreign investment, we need to put our house in order.
Exactly, so that when we put our house in order, those who are here can do the direct investment as well. Let's now go back to a story that we started today's show with. Somtochukwu Maduagwu, a vibrant 29-year-old journalist with the Arise News, was killed during an armed robbery incident at her residence in Katankwe, Abuja, with further reports saying she jumped from her floor, the third floor of a building, while trying to escape the robbers. Her death has sparked outrage, grief, and a renewed call for accountability in Nigeria's security architecture.
She wasn't just a journalist. Somi, as she was fondly called, was a voice for youth, a symbol of hope and a believer in Nigeria's promise. But in the early hours of Monday, that promise was shattered. Over 15 armed men stormed her apartment complex. Eyewitnesses say frantic calls to the police went unanswered, and when help finally arrived, it was too late.
Now, this occurred despite the Minister of the FCT's recent declaration of the nation's capital being one of the safest cities in the country. Speaking in his Independence Day anniversary message, Wike commended the residents for intentionally living in peace and harmony despite a few distractions. Authorities deny negligence, but several unanswered questions remain on the lips of Nigerians. But this has created a vacuum and has brought forth a conversation that must be had. So we have joining us for this conversation a security expert, Mr. Deji Oyenuga, and also later on we would be having another guest join us, the chairman of the Nigerian Medical Association, NMA Lagos State Chapter, Dr. Babajide Saheed. But let's start off first with the security expert who joins us. Good morning to you.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, thanks for joining us. And obviously, some of the conversations that has come out of this recent incident is bordering on the state of insecurity in Nigeria. As an expert, it's no doubt that you've been monitoring the report cases and the various reports from different parts of the country, be it Kwara, be it Benue, be it Plateau, about the insecurity that's coming from these areas. Now, what makes this one very significant is the fact that it's coming from the Federal Capital Territory, a place or a state where many would ordinarily think it's the safest haven for every single Nigerian who lives there. But it's not in this case. So can you highlight the risks that indeed comes from this story and what it portends, especially for the citizens who live there in the Federal Capital Territory?
Well, thank you very much for that question. There's something that I need to make clear here. You see, when we say that a particular place is the safest place, it doesn't mean that we have zero crime in that place. There is nothing like zero crime. Crime will always be. It's just that it's going to be lower in some places and higher in some places. But I always tell people that crime is a functional part of every society. There must be crime. Now, in the case of Abuja, well, we expect there to be more security policies in place, more security men in place and all because of the fact that it's the Federal Capital Territory. And the same we expect for Lagos State as the economic nerve center of Nigeria. But, you know, crime is inevitable and, you know, people can come up with strategies and then we assume that it is the best. But there is something that we also need to know. No matter how strong the strategy that you have put in place, one crime will occur because as you are coming up with your strategies, some other people are planning to counter that strategy. So crime, security is more like countering crime, just like crime is countering security. And that is the normal flow. Even if you have security men to every individual in Abuja, one person to one person, one security man to one civilian, there will still be crime because there is no society of saints. We need to work with statistics and be sure that, okay, there is a lot because the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory that said security is perfect in Abuja did not give us empirical evidence to prove that truly security is perfect in Abuja.
Well, you've talked about...
I hope I've been able to answer your question.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, you have. Now, just taking a look at the incident that happened with the Arise TV presenter, what should be the typical response time for law enforcement once a distress call has been made in this type of situation? And do you see any one, dropping the ball amongst the security agencies? Was this incident avoidable?
Well, I think the incident was avoidable. Now, this is the way I say it. She lives in an estate where she lives on the 3rd floor. There were more people there. There were a lot of people there. There were 2 security men. One intervened, but it was short. And I want to assume that there was a call. There must have been a call, because part of security is having a connection with the nearest security post for there to be a kind of support. Because this is the way security works. Most times you see that police officers work in twos. Now, one is a backup to the other one, the immediate backup. You don't see security men working alone. So if you have a space that is being secured, you need 2 people minimum. One is an immediate backup. Now, the 2 are not enough, because you also need an extended backup that should be stronger than the immediate backup. So even while you are trying to contain the threat, you must also have a connection from outside that will help you to ensure that you are safe. Now, we need to ascertain that there was a call, or there must have been a call. Let us assume that there was a call. And when the call was placed, there must have been something. The police was meant to respond. Now, it depends on the distance between that location and the nearest police posts. I live in an estate where the nearest police post is about 5 minutes away. But then we decided that we needed immediate response. So we created a police post in our estate to provide for us immediate response. So they will now be, we have our security, we have them. Now they have the extended support. So generally, what we're saying here is that in a time like that, you need immediate response. I have been in a situation like that before too, but I made calls. I was making calls, I was mounting pressures, and for a person of that caliber, she was supposed to have such connection. Even if she doesn't have it directly, she will have it indirectly. She was supposed to calm herself and make calls and ensure that her doors are locked. She is on the last floor, on the 3rd floor. I'm not sure that's the last floor. On the 3rd floor. It's not sane for anyone to consider jumping from a 3rd floor, especially when the floor is concrete, especially when you do not have the training of an army officer or security training. So jumping was the last resort. Ensuring that you are able to man your doors is very important. You lock the main entrance, you lock other doors, and then you lock yourself in another room, so they will need to break one before they get to another one. And then you buy time. You make calls to buy time. And remember, she's not even going to be the first one, because they did not come with helicopter. She'll probably be one of the later ones. And they might not even get there, because for every crime, there is a time allotted for it. Maybe there's a target person. Maybe there is not. Maybe it's just a random crime. But they have a time allotted to it. So you will just buy more time by making calls. They didn't take away the network. There was no network jam. So you still have your phone. You still have a way of helping the security down there to get the support that they needed. So what she did was not needed. But really, I think that the residential committee or association should have provided more security than they did. You should have security in your home, first layer. You should have security in the area, second layer. Then you can then extend to the Nigeria Police or NSCDC.
Okay.
Now that becomes the third and stronger layer.
If I may interrupt at this point, in response to what you're saying, I just need to be sure that we're not blaming the victim for the failure of the state to provide security, the failure of the estate to provide security, because it's easier to say that she shouldn't have jumped until you find yourself in that situation where, as a woman, you hear that, and even as a human being, you hear that there have been robbers. It's just like saying beating a child and telling the child not to cry. It's easier for us to give solutions on what we think she should have done or what we think she shouldn't have done, knowing well that, I mean, it's a state of panic, it's a state of fear, and anything can happen in that moment. And as a woman, when you hear that robbers are coming into your apartment, about 14 robbers are coming, the first thing you're thinking about is, not only will they steal from me, there's a possibility that they could rape. So can't we see that, you know, there are layers to this conversation before it got to her securing her apartment or shutting her doors, which I'm sure she did? The estate and the state particularly, should take the responsibility for providing security. Do we have CCTV cameras? Do our streets have CCTV cameras? Does the estate have CCTV cameras that can help with the investigation so we can see the people who came in and know what the next steps are?
Okay, I get your point, because this is a woman in question. Now, I have been in that kind of situation 3 times in my life. The first time was when I was a student. Robbers broke into my apartment and they brought out gun. And I was a final year student, and then the guy just said, he put bullets on my bed and then brought out the gun and said, this is gun, you want to make I try him? I said, don't try it. Then he said, where is the money? I said, which money? Now said, how much do you have? I said, see, I have 100 naira. On that day, I think I had 120 naira. I said, I had 120 naira. And then he said, I like this guy. Nobody should touch him. And nobody collected that money from me. Then they left. Now, 2 rooms away from mine, they went away with about 3,000 naira. I'm talking about the year 2000. Such money were not small money anyway, but that was the year 2000. Now, about 6 years ago, I had robbers in my next compound. There was a gunshot to my compound. I had a dog. My dog was shot at, but it didn't touch my dog, so they didn't come into my compound. They left, went to another place and robbed them. But while we were there, my entire family, myself, my children, my wife, we had to sleep on one bed, the safest room in the apartment. And I went to a small corner that had more than 1 door, and then I was calling the nearest police station myself. Now, they said they shot at 1, but they took him away. Now, this is a country, this is a time when we need to build or prepare people for things like that. I am not blaming her. I understand she's a woman, but then we need to understand that there are times that we do not need certain things. So we need to train people, educate people. And that is why in the US, for example, they do security simulation every time, even in private schools. They will just sound the alarm that there was a threat. And then the people will start panicking and just start turning around. And then they tell them that this is what we are trying to do. In the US Embassy, they do that too. They pretend like there is a terrorist attack. Now, this is training because security requires some simulation. So if we do not expose people to such condition, they will not know how to respond to such condition. And I'm sure that was part of the reasons why the government came up with security education from in the basic school, that is basic 1 to 9, hoping that people will have better information about security and then begin to act in that direction. Even if they are not in Nigeria, it could happen. Now, this is it. You don't blame the government directly for this particular case. You don't.
So who bears the responsibility?
The responsibility, I have said it before, the responsibility will go to the residential association. What security measures do they have in place? Remember that the government will not work if they do not have information. They don't have satellites covering everywhere in Nigeria. It's not like we're using satellite imagery security. We're not. we are still relying on information. We are still hoping to get phone calls from somewhere to somewhere, and then we act on the phone calls. But if we do not have that information, how do we act? And that's the point. We need to have that information first before we act in that direction. So basically, there must have been a stronger security. In an area, the area where I lived before, aside from the security man that we had, or men we had on my street, we also had more like collaborative security system, where all the security men in the area were like one group. So in the night, they communicate until I moved there. And of course, I consider this place safer than where I was living before. But then, you know, no matter how safe you consider this area to be, there are some people who are planning to find a way to break into that area because, like I said, we do not have any society where it is totally populated by saints. There will always be crime.
Okay, we do have a doctor who's joining us as well, the chairman of the Nigerian Medical Association, NMA Lagos chapter, Dr. Babajide Saheed. Let's also look at it from a different aspect as well. We'd like your thoughts on the medical practitioners getting prepared and ready for emergencies like these. Do you think that they are indeed actually prepared? Because there's going to be, whether we like it or not, a finger's pointing at them, just as we saw, even though the police had debunked that statement, and the one who helped them, the Good Samaritan, also debunked that statement. But how prepared are the medical practitioners for cases like this?
Good morning, viewers. Good morning. The issue we are talking about, number one, let me just first of all correct what the journalists in Arise are talking about. Maduagwu was brought in dead. You have to correct that one. Brought in dead was that she already died before being taken to the hospital.
Miss Maduagwu, you mean?
Enemy, and we want to commiserate with the family of Miss Maduagwu, also commiserate with the Arise News, also commiserate with Nigeria on the unfortunate death of Miss Maduagwu, which that death should not have come if the security, as the security expert have said, have been put in place in terms of internal security within the house, internal security within the premises, the estate, internal security within the FCT, internal security, external security within Nigeria. If those two level of security are there, we will have got into this thing. Now, let me now talk about how prepared we are in terms of the emergency. To be frank, the health practitioners are really prepared for the emergency in any situation they find. If anybody is brought in with what we call trial, they will do trial. If they are master or casualty, they will do trial. And look, the first thing they do is to make sure that that person is he alive or not. And if the person is not alive, the only thing you have to do after look at the vital sign and confirm that person is dead is to tell the relative with empathy. Also, we communicate with them very well because they are at the time of they are being aggrieved, they are being tense, and within that short period of time, there can be crisis, but you have to tell them. The second stage is when you say the person is alive. It's in two ways. Is he critically alive? Is he less? Is it the injury is less? Then look at it. You first of all take care of the critical one. The one with the less injury, you now go and take care of that. That is what we call treating emergency care. But when emergency comes in, the first thing, the first level will come in, the first level of care will come in, and the doctor, the nurses, everybody we start management immediately that patient is being brought in. That's emergency. But the problem now is not the human resources, it's the system. Are we really ready in terms of system that things should be put in place? Is our hospital equipped enough in order to resolve this issue? And they say that all the necessary equipment, consumable, are they available? Because if the provider, the resource person, in terms of the doctor, the nurses, are available and they have the knowledge, and what you have to use is not there, that's why this issue comes in.
All right, Dr.
And
Said.
now, because of that,
Dr. Said, sorry to cut in. We just need to go for a quick break, please. When we come back, we'd like you to continue with these explanations. Please stay with us.
You're welcome back to Breakfast Central. We're currently discussing the issues surrounding the sad death of Somtochukwu Maduagwu in Abuja earlier this week. And joining us for this discussion, we have Dr. Babajide Said and also Mr. Deji Oyenuga, security operative. Now, let's get back to Dr. Said. You did mention that, look, in terms of personnel, the Nigerian medical facilities have the equipment, but I have the personnel, but the issue is with the equipment, the system, and facilities. But let's talk about the psychological trauma of living in a country where home invasions, violent robberies, incidents of banditry and terrorism are rarely discussed, the psychological part of this. From your medical experience, what does this reveal about the public health consequences of insecurity, especially amongst young people? Even for my colleagues and I, almost on a daily basis, when we look at the newspaper, it's always, is it something that will, what's the psychological effect of it? Is this something that we eventually normalize?
I didn't get I wouldn't get you very well. I think you are talking about the psychological effect of this type of tragedy.
Yes. Happening week on, week out. Terrorism, banditry.
Hello?
Yes, happening, getting this sort of news every other day. Terrorism, banditry, violent crimes, and home invasions. Yes, the whole spectrum of insecurity.
Anyway, I didn't get very, but what I'm just, if in terms of the psychological effect, nobody will lose somebody that will be upright, that will be happy. It has a lot of psychological effect, both on the family of the deceased, on the employer of the deceased, on the nation in general. Because it's like what the security expert said, it can happen to anybody. Everybody will think that situation like that, if that what happened at in Lagos at the Afriland or Tower, when somebody jumped, you saw somebody jump from top of the story and the person landed. Like what happened now? Those are the things you now think of. If such situation occur, how can we be able to resolve it? In terms of armed robbery, in terms of fire crisis, in terms of collapse building, what are the things? It gives a lot of people psychological effect in the sense that people don't have trust in the system. That can happen to anybody. Like this type of situation that happen is because we are not ready for medical or for emergency situation like this. The first thing that the expert has said, in any system, if such thing happen, there should be an ambulance that will be called immediately, that very near to the scene of accident. And the ambulance will tell the nearest hospital that they are bringing somebody. Now the hospital will be ready. Before the person get there, the person can be saved. Because the situation we have is that the bad road network, bad communication, bad the system, and the final system is bad. Therefore, people are likely to die from this because of the duration of the time before they get it. And because of that, it's a psychological thing for everybody that if things happen to me, what can be done? That person will definitely die. But the system, you need to change the system. You have to change the thinking of people. Losing somebody is not an easy thing. It will be on the mind of that person, of the family, throughout the life of such family. Therefore, it's a thing that you always give a post-traumatic or stress to the family and to the people. For example, she has a friend, she has a lot of friends. Even the way in Nigeria are even looking at it, you can even think about if I'm in a house and in a place and something happens, what should I have done? It's a general psychological effect.
All right. Gentlemen, we have to wrap up the conversation now. Thank you for your time with us this morning. I think that we can all agree that the way to honor her memory is to ensure that we do not have repeat incidents like this, that this is properly investigated and the right security architecture is put in place to ensure that Nigerians are protected. Thank you very much for your time with us.
Thank you.
We're going to break now. When we come back, we will continue the conversations this morning. Stay with us.
Nigeria at 65 is a story of resilience, resource, and reform. From independence in 1960, when agriculture was the backbone of the economy, to the oil boom years that reshaped our national fortunes, the country has experienced repeated cycles of growth, shocks, and adjustments. Today, the conversation around our economy is sharper than ever. Recent data from a GDP growth shows a GDP growth of 4.23% in Q2 2025. Yet, inflation remains stubbornly high at 20.12%, with food inflation at 21.88%. The central bank has kept interest rates elevated at 27% in its bid to fight inflation, even as reforms aim to stabilize the naira.
While debt pressures remain, poverty and inequality are still widespread, and questions linger about whether our economic structure truly reflects the potential of Africa's largest economy. With rebasing in 2025 and new sectors being captured in our GDP, Nigeria stands at another crossroad, balancing growth with real improvements in living standards. Today, we ask what lessons can we draw from our past and how do we chart a more sustainable path for the future? Not just that, the president also did in his speech talk about the growth and how the economy is indeed bouncing back. But don't take my words for it. We do have an economist, seasoned as it is, the CEO of Awaba, Tunji Andrews, live in the studio with us. Welcome.
Thank you very much for having me.
Great.
And happy post-independence.
Yeah.
I think my first question would be, what did you make of the numbers or the statistics that the president reeled out yesterday? Many of them.
Not great. I know that a lot of people see where we're coming from and see that this is a huge leap. But the honest truth is that it's pittance compared to what the growth story of Nigeria should be. We have 200 plus million people. We have an underperforming economy by far. And the truth about it is that economies are multipliers. So you can multiply problems and you can multiply good things. And we have multiplied problems for a very long time. We now need to multiply the good growth to be able to first clean the bad we've done in the last maybe 6, 7, 8 years, and then now start to grow. So we're still cleaning up all the mess we've had in the last, say, maybe eight or so years.
And whose fault is it? It's definitely not a failure of this administration. There's multiple failures that have come to a head.
Yeah. To be honest with you, as a collective, Nigeria's leadership has failed Nigeria. And this is all the way back from independence. Collectively, they have failed Nigeria. Nigeria has no business being in the situation it is. We're resource rich, we're people rich, geographically located in such a great place where we can connect with thriving economies in the world. But we are still underperforming. Look at India with what they've been able to do with the kind of people, the resources that they have at their disposal. Nigeria has just not been able to tap fully into the resource that we have. Unfortunately, the curse of oil has continued to plague us for so long. But to be honest with you, growing at 4.2% is good, but Nigeria needs to be growing at least 15% to be able to catch up with, the decay that we have created for so long.
And does it look like that 15% we need to grow by? Do we see the possibility of that happening in the nearest future?
What do we need to do to get there?
You don't mistakenly grow at 15%. You don't just wake up and do it. The country that, if you look historically, the one country that did it was China. And you can see clearly that it was not by mistake. They knew what they were doing from day one. They had a clear plan. And the growth happened for over a decade, 15% year on year. And you can see where China is today. As of today, I do not think Nigeria has a clear plan that from top to bottom, everybody can plug into to achieve. So the government talks about a $1 trillion economy. I don't think the people who put that math together totally understand the math of GDP growth. Because what it means is that from where we are to grow to 1 trillion, we have to be growing to at least double the size of the economy every 2 years. So 4.2 is not close to costing it.
What are the fundamentals that need to be put in place for us to grow the economy to that level? Is it doable? What did China do?
So China did a few things, and it's heavy investment in China's capability to produce. Nigeria is not producing. Nigeria...
We're consuming.
No. Nigeria extracts oil and assumes it's producing. So today, I'm sure 95% of the things in this studio are made in China. If you get my point.
I get your point.
It's about production. Nigeria, think about one thing that we produce. Anything. Just think about one.
We've started refining oil.
I want to shock you, it's not even ours. Sorry to bust your bubble on that one.
It's not?
It's not. The ones you see,
fabric.
a few people do like maybe 6, 7, 10. The ones that mass produce do not come from here.
They come from outside the country, China. I saw someone do a direct
It's
China.
hurtful,
and
right?
and he ships it back into Nigeria for sale. The Chinese,
That's the
apparently.
point. It's really frustrating to think about how Nigeria has not taken competitive advantage on anything. And this is what I believe the government needs to really focus on, productivity. And we need to just choose a few things. We can't win at everything, right?
Yeah.
We cannot win. But at this point, there are a few things that are working in our favor right now. Our exchange rate is not great, but it has made us competitive with the rest of the world. Which means if we start producing right now, we will be competitive on the global market. Europe knows this. Europe has introduced a new tax on value-added products coming in from Africa to them, right? Because they realize that if these guys start producing, our producers here cannot compete. So they've input a tax on goods coming from here into the EU zone. Now, Africa needs to understand that this is the point where economically we have the cheapest labor force, we have land, we have
Resources.
good resources.
Yeah.
Start producing now to start taking
Access to
advantage
raw
of it.
materials, yeah.
You get? So it does feel to me like, yes, this administration is now focused on revenue generation, but revenue generation is not the only thing. We now need to start producing on a high scale. And it's not just producing. I look at the South Korean example where South Korea as a government decided that we're going to pick a few players, make them so powerful that they will start being the drivers of our economy. Now we see cars from there. We see technology from South Korea. So it's those conversations, but I don't think we've started having
Our
that.
production, we have a long way to go. I was reading about how a lot of the designer brands, for example, will come here and get our leather, they'd export our leather, make it into designer products, and then it doesn't, of course, even say that it was, sourced from Nigeria.
At all.
And then they get the credit and we get nothing. So yes, production is an area we need to explore. But you talked about our currency being a good thing where we are right now. But I think a number of people have always wondered how we got here in the first place. In the past 65 years, there was a point where our currency was at par with the dollar. Right now, it's a huge distance, a huge barrier. The good thing is it's no longer bleeding, so there's some sort of stability. But how did we get here in the first place?
We stopped producing. Because the truth about it is that the only reason why your currency appreciates is that there's people trying to buy it, right? There's demand for your currency. Even in Nigeria, there's very little demand for Nigerian currency in Nigeria. Do you understand?
We have services that are priced in
dollars.
Yeah.
So the general context is if, for instance, let's say for lack of a better example, I started producing glasses and probably I was one of the top 5 producers of glasses in the entire world, right? What that means is that China, Europe, America will start coming into Nigeria to buy glasses. What it means is that when they get to the borders of Nigeria, they will exchange whatever currency they have for Naira to come and buy my glasses and then export it to their country. What that means is that at that point, there is demand on the Naira from other people. It starts to appreciate. Our reserves start to increase, and Nigeria, the government...
The president talked about the progress in the reserves. That in a long time, Nigeria has never gotten this much.
So this is the problem with that statement. Compared to what? He's comparing it with the previous administration, which left a lot to be desired, right? And it's not like what this person has done is rocket science, right? It is not rocket science. If you have crude oil production at a steady rate, which we've had for the last 1-2 years, and you've been producing, your reserves will grow. It's not rocket science. But I mean, it's a pass mark. But honestly, it's not a thing.
It's a pass mark, but it's nothing to pat.
Exactly. No, really.
Now let's look at Nigeria being globally competitive.
Yes.
In your analysis, you mentioned certain things that are going well for us.
Yeah.
And I'll always say our geographic area is a God-given blessing. We're 7 hours from London, from Europe and the Middle East. Nigeria should be an aviation hub. I was just looking at some study, and it says domestic airlines, the reason why our tickets are very expensive is at least 45 to 50% goes to multiple tax, NAMA, FAN, and all of that. These are low-hanging fruits we could develop. You also mentioned the South Korea model. Hyundai, Heavy Industries, the cars, Samsung, that the government took a few players. Now we've had an individual, and what is did is earthquaking. It's never been done before. Single largest train refiner in the world, Dangote. Looking at that South Korea model, if we could use it for Nigeria, what low-hanging fruits or what businesses would you suggest, the government should give it 100% support and let's kickstart this industrialization and production drive?
So the thing, and this is what I really need Nigerians to listen to, a lot of the times when we talk about export, the average Nigerian thinks, oh, I have Gary, let me export Gary, or there's cashew, those things are good. I'm not trying to be...
Share butter.
I'm not saying, but what you need to ask is, what does the world need right now? And globally, there's a high demand for fertilizer, and it's expensive. It's expensive to produce in Europe, it's expensive to produce in America, but there's a high demand for fertilizer. Aliko, who you just spoke about, it has set up the largest fertilizer plant in Ethiopia because the Ethiopian government struck a deal with him to create a $2.5 billion refinery in Ethiopia. The EU is worried about that plant. We have fertilizer.
Why?
Because the European fertilizer plants will die if that plant works.
Just the way the
Dangote refinery is.
You get my point?
Yeah.
You get my point? So we need to look at what does the world need and what can we be competitive at. Aluminum is another thing. We can start, these are low-hanging fruits these are things we can scratch from we don't need to do a lot of excavation. Exactly.
This is where Jakarta still needs to wake up.
Jakarta actually needs to be sold.
Aluminium smelting.
No, I said needs to wake up. Either it's sold.
Let's give it to somebody else.
Just do something.
But the thing is, I think where we need to be a top 5 player in one or two things. And they don't have to be the really beautiful ones. It could be fertilizer, it could be aluminum, it could be coal, whatever it is, we just need to be top 5. And these are things that are readily available to Nigeria, that doesn't need a lot of refining capacity to be able to produce. And we have them here.
In 2012, 2016, also in 2018, Nigeria was reckoned as the largest economy in Africa, but now we're the 4th, overtaken by the likes of Egypt and South Africa. Is there any hope that we'll get back to number 1, apart from these things? I mean, looking at the economic trajectory, do you think if we place these things you've mentioned, bordered on the fact that what is currently done by this administration will take us there? Like they'll say, take us to El Dorado.
It is possible, but if you've visited any of those countries recently, you would realize that chaos has to happen there first. It's not just us growing; they have to also stop because they're growing at this. I was.
We catch up. Catch me if you can.
I was in South Africa recently, and I saw an abandoned gold mine, abandoned diamond mine. Now, the issue they have with the diamond mine is that it's not producing as much quality anymore, so they just abandoned it and moved to another one. Now, you need to understand how I felt, because I'm coming from a country that is resource rich, that we need to have mines like this. I'm talking, this is an extensive mine that goes deep into the ground, extensive network, but they're like, this thing's not producing as quality diamonds as we need.
Can you imagine?
So we moved on to the next one. And, so those countries will not regress. We need to now double our hustle. It's not bad to be third, it's not bad to be fourth. A lot of these countries you've also spoken about have connections to the Middle East, which makes it easy for them to attract capital. They don't even regard themselves as Africa a lot of the times, but so they have a lot of, access to direct flow of capital, and a lot of the business in the world right now is happening in the Middle East. So we can't compete with that. But third or fourth, as long as we're growing, it's not bad, really. It's not bad.
All right. Anyway, it's been a fantastic conversation so far. Thank you so much, Tunji Andrews, for being here and helping us to dissect what we would
we really need to have it back.
Yeah, because we don't have enough time. But I wanted to squeeze in as quickly as possible the conversation about how when they're giving positive projections in the economy and the average Nigerian is saying it's not translating.
Yes.
And then we have people who say, give the government another quarter, say first quarter of 2026. First of all, why is it not translating? And do you believe that we will start to see results in first quarter?
So the truth about it is that GDP and economic analysis it goes bad and people are affected 3 months down the line. It goes good, people are affected 3 months down the line. I'm saying the people should not stop asking questions. Because if you stop asking questions now, maybe that 3 months time you start feeling it will go bad again, and then you start feeling another hurt. So just keep asking questions and keep piling pressure.
Okay. All right, thank you very much, Tunji Andrews, for joining us. And you certainly don't look like it's not translating to you. But we will go on a break now. When we come back, bring you breakfast headlines. Please stay with us.
Wow. Welcome to Breakfast Headlines. I am Benga Aborowa. President Bola Tinubu delivered an early morning address to mark the country's 65th independence anniversary yesterday. He reassured citizens that Nigeria's worst days are behind and declared that the economy is firmly on the path to recovery. He emphasized that his administration has deliberately chosen the path of tomorrow over the comfort of today, pointing to ongoing reforms as necessary foundations for long-term growth and national stability.
New administration.
Following that, Frank Shuaibu, Special Assistant in Public Communication to former Vice President Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, has criticized President Tinubu's Independence Day address, saying it does not reflect the pain ordinary Nigerians endure. He argued that Tinubu's story of improvement in education, health, economy, and security is mostly rhetoric. While the president claimed Nigeria is turning a corner after inheriting a broken economy, Shuaibu says thousands of people still sit on bare floors, teachers poorly paid, hospitals lack basic tools, among many other struggles. And some traders and residents in Lagos have raised concerns over the rising cost of food, saying prices have soared since last year's Independence Day. According to press reports, traders at Oshodi Market lamented the sharp increase in prices of staples like rice, beans, garri, and tomatoes, blaming government inaction for worsening the crisis. They warned that many families can no longer afford balanced meals and urged both federal and state governments to take immediate action. While President Bola Tinubu has appealed for patience, promising that his economic reforms will yield long-term gains, residents say the cost of living is becoming unbearable and immediate relief is needed as more Nigerians slip into poverty. The Pan-Niger Delta Forum, PANDEF, has urged the federal government to urgently address the worsening state of infrastructure in the Niger Delta. In its Independence Day message, as signed by the national chairman, Ambassador Dr. Godno Zigali, the group warned that neglect of key projects continues to limit the region's economic growth. PANDEF congratulated Nigerians, South-South governors and President Bola Tinubu on the country's 65th independence anniversary, acknowledging the administration's efforts to tackle national issues. However, the group stressed the need to revitalize key ports in Port Harcourt, Calabar, Onne, and Warri. PANDEF reaffirmed its commitment to working with both federal and state governments to ensure the Niger Delta plays a stronger role in national development. Now, outside Nigeria, a massive wildfire that scorched over a third of Namibia's Etosha National Park is now under control, according to government authorities. The blaze, which began on the 22nd of September, spread rapidly due to dry vegetation and strong winds, burning nearly 854,000 hectares, about 38% of the park's area. The fire is believed to have started from charcoal production near the park's borders. Over 500 soldiers were deployed to contain the flames, while most fires are now extinguished. One remains active just outside the park, with 45 personnel working to put it out. The park, home to endangered species like the black rhino, is being monitored for wildlife distress, with veterinarians and troops conducting mop-up operations. The World Health Organization says 42 deaths out of 64 confirmed cases have been recorded in the Democratic Republic of Congo in the latest outbreak of Ebola in early September. While it says the risk of the disease spreading in the region is moderate, it notes that health authorities in the country began rolling out a vaccine program against the often fatal virus 2 weeks ago. The highly contagious hemorrhagic fever has killed some 15,000 people in Africa over the past 50 years. Last month's vaccination campaign followed the announcement of a resurgence of the disease in the central province of Kasai. Protests in Morocco have entered a fifth day, with escalating clashes between demonstrators and security forces across several cities. In Zagane, near Agadir, arrests turned violent as mosques set fires and damaged public property. Similar scenes have been reported in Uja, Beni Malalal, and Ait Amira. The demonstrations are being spearheaded by the youth collective Gen Z 212, which is demanding urgent reforms in health, education, and governance. Authorities say more than 200 people have been arrested in the capital, Rabat, while 37 have already been charged. In Casablanca, 6 minors are among those referred to court. Although Gen Z 212 leaders have consistently called for non-violence, the protests reflect growing anger over inequality and recent healthcare scandals that have fueled public outrage.
And we are back. Welcome to Breakfast Central here on News Central. If you just tuned in, but it's time for the front pages of the newspapers. Joining us is Wole Soyinka, Head Strategy and Public Affairs, Nairametrics. Good to have you.
Great to be here. Happy Independence Day, Nigeria.
Happy Independence
Great to have you join us, especially as we turn 65. We're a very matured country now.
Yeah, I'm 10 years younger than Nigeria, so.
That's good. That's good. And there's a lot to look
Happy
into.
Independence.
But then again,
let's get into the papers this morning.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Wade, first off, what did you make of the speech yesterday?
To be honest, I didn't listen.
Oh, why?
I didn't think there was anything that was really going to be said. That's my opinion. And from what I hear and what I've heard, I don't think there was really anything that was said that is beyond what the usual is. And I'll just leave it at that. I just didn't listen.
It's okay. All right. Now, let's take a look at the papers that we do have on the front pages of the newspapers.
Let's start with the Nigerian Tribune.
Okay, Nigerian Tribune first.
Yeah, let's start with Nigerian
all right,
Tribune.
let's go.
Dangote-PENGASSAN suspend strike, issues fresh threat. It's just what they're
What
doing.
figure of speech is this?
I don't tire.
I don't understand.
I don't tire.
It's like saying, I don't
Is
do
this
again.
an oxymoron?
I don't tire.
It's like saying, I don't do again.
I don't tire. How federal government brokered truce over disputes. And then we see scarcity of cooking gas hits Lagos. Vendors sell 1,600 naira per kg. I don't tire.
Thank you very much for that update. So what this tells me is that I have to suspend cooking of beans
Exactly, for now,
foreseeable
or you
future.
switch back to firewood.
Why do you want to destroy the environment and cause more chaos by burning wood?
What options do I have?
I'm
But
just
if, if
saying.
I give you firewood,
The
jollof, you will
smoky
eat it.
jollof, exactly. God bless you, my sister. By the way, I have a compliment for you.
Thank you.
Yesterday, you looked so elegant and classy. You were giving Lady Flora
Can we
Shaw
focus
vibes.
on the newspapers, please?
Lady
All right,
Lugard.
the papers, let's...
Back to the papers.
While they are
Don't
hosting another
sell
show,
our assets in oil industry. ADC cautions Tinubu. Report warns Nigeria of declining global oil demands, urges focus on non-oil export tax reforms. Health. Eating more fruits protects lung against air pollution. According to a study, just give us clean air first of all. Probe attempts to pay out 12.75 billion naira Osun local government funds as legal fees. PDP asked IGP, EFCC. PDP is confused. Party should be ignored, APC spokesman says. Kogi government mourns as 26 feared killed, others missing in boat accident. Really sad. Kwara, security forces attack kidnappers' hideout. Government urges limited movement. This again is a follow-up from that video that has been circulating on social media. Lagos government faults Obi on trade fair demolition, insists buildings had no approval. That's a story I hope we can take. But let's start with PENGASSAN. PENGASSAN had instructed its members to embark on a nationwide strike over the dismissal of workers by Dangote refinery, despite a court verdict halting the industrial action. The association had claimed that the refinery laid off over 800 workers, noting that they were working to resolve the issue. And then Dangote refinery later confirmed sacking some workers, saying that only a small number were affected, and the refinery described the job cuts as a reorganization exercise. So it was Dangote's side of the story, PENGASSAN's side of the story. They threatened to go on the strike. And then on Wednesday, after the federal government intervention, the Dangote group agreed to redeploy the workers sacked by its subsidiary, Dangote refinery. But we are hearing that there's a potential of fresh strike. When will we catch a break?
When we can ensure that we have fuel in our petrol stations and we are not dependent on one supplier, I would end it at that. I don't want to talk too much about it.
Okay. All right. Let's go to another story then, moving on from there, and talk about Lagos government faulting Peter Obi over trade fair demolition, insists buildings have no approval. I'm sure you saw the trade fair demolition and the arguments. And part of the criticism is that the government is very quick to pull down, forgetting that it's cost a lot to pull up. And how did these people get the information
And
in the
if you're
first
going to
place?
enforce, why didn't you enforce at the foundational stage? Why wait for the entire structure to be put up?
Exactly. Peter Obi, during his visit, praised the traders for their resilience and their restraint, and he insisted that the demolished buildings had approvals and described the exercise as a test of impunity, justice, and compassion.
Anyway, of course, there are always two sides to the story. And the first side is Lagos State says, we had informed the traders since 2023. First, let's even understand that trade fair complex. It's a federal government-owned space, and the rules and regulations that operate there are that of the federal government. However, the building permits are state approved. Why? Because even for federal government facilities, they have to meet a standard, a minimum standard. And the expectation is that the state standard would not be lower than that of the national standard. So that's one. One of the things, some of the things that you've heard is that, there were no fire escapes, there were death traps, and so on and so forth. My question always is this. First and foremost, because that space has been provided for a fair, meaning that you must have enough space before it turned into a market. Then, in terms of replanning that place, what was done? And that's why I said both sides have their own issues. Because it's a market, see what happened in the building that just got burnt. And some of these buildings are old. Some of these buildings were built where you didn't have the kind of cluster of population that you had there now. And those are some of the things that you need to consider. Now, when you start to build all those things, so maybe when the first shops were built, because there were some shops there at that complex, because those who came to, exhibit their goods had to rent aside from the free spaces, had to rent stalls and all to be able to keep their things, so you're not moving it from one point to the other. And then you now build a cluster, and then it becomes the market square that even for you to move from one point to the other,
that's a problem.
You probably have to, walk by your side. And these are things that need to be considered. Now, is demolition always the right path? Sometimes it is, and it's unfortunate that monies are lost. But like I always say, where we fail to follow procedures and follow the processes, and if you have done that and you show your documentation, I don't think there's anybody who just wants to wake up in the morning and say, you know what, go and break down XYZ's house.
Okay, let's quickly take this call from Godwin. Godwin is calling from Ikorodu here in Lagos. Good morning, Godwin. Thank you for calling. Please go ahead.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, I just want to agree with your analyst, your guest analyst, that is Ahime. Yesterday's broadcast didn't really actually, have information or any kind of inspiration for the youth. Where we live, where I live in particular, the lights is dwindling and the roads are in a very bad shape. So I expected that the money from savings that the president is claiming from, this oil subsidy should have trickled down, coupled with the fact that the local government now have money directly from the Federal Allocation Committee and all of that. But the roads are in very bad shape, especially the local roads. So yesterday's president's speech, independent speech, did not actually have any kind of inspiration for us. Just like your guest analyst said, it was almost like empty. And then regarding the, destruction of houses around and what do we call the name of this place? I think that the government should be more focused on when people want to build, to ensure that they follow the laid down procedure, not when people have finished their building and they are getting on with their life, then demolition will occur. I don't think this is the proper thing to do. Thank you very much.
You're on the front page there of still the Nigerian Tribune. From left to right, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, President Bola Tinubu, Professor Wole Soyinka, Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, and also you have the Emir of Kano. Not forgetting to all of them gathered at the reopening ceremony of the 4,000 capacity Wole Soyinka Centre for Culture and Creative Arts. I know you're a creative and culture person as well. I think we have
fantastic work. I think we have to put up that video.
Yeah, the video as well. There were videos where
the bankers committee were responsible for the renovation as part of their CSR, and kudos to them. This is world class. It's a pride of not Nigeria but Africa as a whole. The great work they've done to that monument at the National Theatre. There are also issues around around prestige and honor, because we seem to be renaming everything. It's no crime for it to be Nigeria's national theatre. There's a Ghanaian national theatre, Polish national theatre, International Conference Centre. When renaming monuments and things after people, is it really necessary? Is it the best way of which you can honor the legacy of these individuals? Because why is it renamed after Professor Wole Soyinka? There are many other. Not to take away his contribution to Nigeria.
Yeah, you can't name monuments after people when they are dead. That's the standard everywhere. Have you heard anything named after the? If you go to America,
currencies with living people.
Who? I can't. Tell me one that you know. I don't know. Even for some leaders who people felt were
former presidents in America, George Washington.
When did he die?
I'm saying former presidents of America. Have they named them with?
Well, maybe some of them, if they are dead, the fourth.
Okay.
So but it's after you. So naming a monument after you is
Bola Tinubu International Conference Centre.
Tell me, you just heard what I said at the beginning. Are you God forbid? And I'm not praying for anybody to die.
But yeah, but we get your point. Exactly. That it's sometimes often done in commemoration or something.
It's not sometimes. All times done in commemoration of what the person has done to contribute to that. Wole Soyinka has contributed immensely, in my own opinion, I don't dislike Wole Soyinka, but Chinua Achebe is dead. Maybe it would have been better to name him after Chinua Achebe. And that's the reality, because they've contributed so much to Nigeria's literary works, literature, projecting Nigeria, and so on and so forth. How about Cyprian Nkwesi? How about the man who wrote, what's that book? I can't remember, I read it in my class 1, about the incorruptible judge. He's a Nigerian. So these things are there. Those who have contributed, yes, in their lifetime. It's like you naming a street after me. Why? I remember when they named Broad Street after Yakubu Gowon, and the Lagos State government named it after him because he got married and say, oh, it's now Yakubu Gowon Street. How? How do we do that?
Or Charlie Boy bus stop.
Charlie Boy bus stop.
So you see, let's get the Charlie Boy bus stop correct. One of the reasons why that bus stop was named after Charlie Boy is because of all the things that Charlie Boy was doing around that area. And it was named a bus stop. Oh yeah, a bus stop, yeah. But the monument, please, spare me. That's my opinion.
When I have a hairdressing salon, I'll name it Oliver Modi Stylish.
Yeah, you can.
Hairdressing salon.
You can.
I just want a small statue.
No. You are just recognizing your friend and naming your business after her. That's fine.
I just need a small statue. People that they build their statue in the most states.
I don't believe a statue is like man-made God.
Okay. Well.
Anyway, let's go to another paper very quickly. Let's go to the Punch. NNPC laments losses as unions halt action.
I beg your pardon. There's one more story, oil-related.
Okay,
not
where?
Pengassan.
Back to the
Don't
Tribune.
sell back to Tribune. Don't sell assets in oil industry. ADC cautions Tinubu.
Yeah,
What do you make of this? We have oil assets that are hemorrhaging finances, and they're moribund. So what do we do with them? We continue to do turnaround maintenance and bleed taxpayers' monies.
Like I said about fuel subsidy, and I continue to maintain, and I would never regret saying that subsidy was bad for Nigeria. In Nigeria, I remember one time I was speaking to one of my former bosses, and one of the things he said is that there's nobody who is in public space that will tell you, when you hear, oh, let's sell this asset, the first thing they say, government asset. No, it's a national asset. We need to. But if it's not productive in the way you want to use it, then give it to someone who can make it productive and charge the commissions or the taxes that will come back into the system so that you can use it to do other things. Why do we spend so much money on refineries that are not producing, on refineries that haven't worked? Some of the refineries have not produced. A year, 2 years consecutively, Kaduna refinery, 0 revenue, almost $1 billion in expenditure. 2 years consecutively. They published the accounts. It wasn't me. It's there. People are going on training.
For something that is not working.
With whose money? Taxpayers' money. Because it's a national asset. I don't think I've ever heard anywhere in the United States or in Europe or in Asia say, oh, this national asset, as is not, most of them still produce money. They just subsidize them one way or the other. But they are generating revenue. Any asset that is not generating revenue is moribund. Sell it, collect the money, put it into things that would work.
But there are fears that if they sell it,
they'll sell it to their friends.
It's not going to be transparent. It will be sold to the same.
You see, all these things about this, and it's the same way they say about, and a sector that I know because I was there when it was sold. It was sold to their friends. Wow. Like I always say, they sold part of it. Government still has 40%. And I can tell you for free the amount of money that has gone in there, whether it's through government subsidy or through the investors putting money in, or whether the government met its part of all the agreements that were signed. There are a plethora of issues. But in my own opinion, they've been run better in the last 10 years. You've had more investments in them in the last 10 years than you did for as long as I can remember. That's my opinion.
Okay. All right. Now we can move to the Punch.
Yes.
Nigeria 65, Tinubu's reforms yet to ease hardships, experts are saying. You've also mentioned that you don't have any, you didn't take anything away from the speech because you didn't watch.
I didn't listen and I didn't watch.
All right. Fubara sacks commissioners and others. Let's focus on that.
Why wasn't this headline news? I'm just seeing this for the first time.
No, I think
maybe
it's shocking. It
it's
happened.
the
It happened
Independence,
Wednesday. Yes.
Celebrations that
I think so. You're
Yes.
talking about Fubara.
Yes, Fubara. He sacked all the commissioners.
Okay,
now.
we were not here last week when we were talking about the same, whether Fubara had come in or he hadn't come. Joe wasn't around.
Joe wasn't around.
We know we said some of these things, that some of the things that he was probably going to do
Was to sack all the commissioners that he appointed.
He was going to represent a list of commissioners. So for him to be able to do that, he first
That
has to
means
sack
new
the ones
commissioners
that he
are
has.
coming.
And then he now has to present.
I'm
to
sure
the
he will
State
retain one or
Assembly.
two from
So he
his
might
own
retain them.
cabinet.
Of course, he might probably retain a few.
But he did this yesterday during democracy, in daily independence. I said it during the independence, and in a statement signed by Chief Press Secretary Nelson Chukwudi, Governor Fubara expressed appreciation to his cabinet members for their dedication and contributions to the state's development over the past 2 years. He emphasized the importance of unity, urging Nigerians to work with President Bola Tinubu in building a peaceful, secure, and prosperous nation. So they're all gone. The next point will be who will be appointed, who will be brought back, and is it going to be a genuine list from the governor? It's going to be a list that was...
I really don't understand. We're already preempting.
No, I'm
these
asking
are very
questions.
valid
It's a question.
questions.
It's a question. It's a question everybody should ask because of what has been happening.
Because
is it going to be
is he
genuine?
his own list,
Is he doing
or is he
this
politically
himself,
induced?
or is part of what many have called
Or
the agreement?
How do I know?
I don't
That's why you're an analyst. That's why you're an
I don't have a
analyst.
crystal
That's why you're on the
ball to see
hot
that
seat.
thing. And that's why I'm trying to make the seat warm, not cold or warm. So he's going to, of course, there's nowhere you appoint commissioners that is just you alone that make that determination. Let's always remember that. Even when presidents appoint, whether it's special advisors or ministers, of course, they consult different people. So, of course, he's going to go into that consultation. He will present his list again back to the State Assembly. Hopefully, this time around, they will ratify everybody, whether it's coming from them, whether it's coming directly from him, or it's coming from his coalition of advisors. Then we'll wait and see.
Anyway, that paper, let's put that paper back up again very quickly. Let's see the paper very quickly. On the paper, we have another one. Okay, here it is. One doctor attends to 9,083 Nigerians, NAD laments. I mean, we've heard this, we've heard it on this show every now and then. We've brought in the doctors. They've mentioned even 10,000 to a doctor. 853 billion naira crime proceeds recovered in 1 year. I love this header. I love it. You know why? Because they've recovered this amount. Where is the money?
Federation account.
He should present the accounts now so that we can see.
Cool. All right.
Well, we probably, so with this kind of monies that have been recovered now, are you with me? So it's part of the things that might go into funding next year's budget. Because proceeds from crime related offenses or crime or frauds usually come back into the musical, or it might be part of the monies that they've spent to execute this year's budget.
Okay, good. Because there was a conversation around, the EFCC was trying to push a proposal that they keep certain percentages of proceeds of crime to run their operations, and it was a big no-no, and we can understand the reasons for that, because it will be extra motivation, and let's just leave the system the way it is. And Olive, I wanted to take your opinion on the previous story about Fubara sacking of commissioners. Sorry to take us back. On an auspicious occasion of Independence Day, was he granting them independence?
Were you born in December?
I was born during the dry season. Let's move on to other serious matters. One doctor attends to 9,083 Nigerians. This is a national
I took that as well.
And we also have, this is going on alongside, simultaneously, with the brain drain in the medical field and all fields, but attention here is medical field. What can the government do?
Where's the brain draining to?
It's going to Europe and other places that
value
the services. They are buying.
Well, they're going into the global market.
Oh yeah,
and then you would feel their contributions.
And here, and I mean every other week, there's a warning strike. There are doctors complain about conditions of service.
It means that we've gone because under Ngige it was 1 to 6,000. So it means more doctors have jackpot.
So why is this not a national health emergency?
But that's not true. We've seen the National Assembly try to pass a bill so that doctors don't jackpot until after this. So that we do not say it's not an emergency.
But
That's
what are
if
they
it wasn't
doing
an emergency, they won't try and do
What are
that
they
thing.
doing to forestall this? And that bill hasn't passed.
The bill can pass because first and foremost, it's not like it's the government that trained us. We pay our monies to go through that school. And you might say it's relatively cheap when you compare it to other medical schools across the world, but we still pay our fees to go through school. We're the ones that got lectured, not the government telling us this is what we're going to do. So yeah, why would you pass a bill like that? Why will you encumber my direction or my career path? My career path and my work path is left to me. If I decide that when I leave school I don't want to do anything and I just want to hang around, then that's
exactly. What do you do to people like Dr. Sid that went to medical school and are singing? He's a dentist.
So everybody has his own final calling.
Olive.
Doctors.
Olive still contributes legally on breakfast.
So the other thing about
thank you, my friend.
And Latin Max.
Yeah. So the other thing about all of these things. Okay. So what do you want to say about me now? I'm a qualified accountant. I have dread on my head.
Does it matter? Does the dread affect your...
Exactly, and that's my point. Only led law doesn't mean that she's not contributing immensely to public discourse.
MBA, take notes.
True. And producers, please take notes. Joe should be sitting here.
And my good friend, also, what's her name? Lolo. Yeah. Exactly. So yes, I might have gone to school to read something, but my career path can change at any point in time. I've done banking, done oil and gas, I'm in media. So all these things are all, and then you must always be flexible because where do you know where you are going to be next year? But doctors, we need to find a solution to it, and the solution is simple. Where we provide the right infrastructure and equipment in hospital, and it starts from primary health care. There's a health center not too far from my house. They built the main health center itself. When you go there, you just see old files down the floor. No windows, no nothing. But they built a temporary, what's it called? That doesn't even befit what primary health care should be in today's
people will say, we should celebrate that one. That at least
you should what?
We should celebrate the fact that there's even a primary health center there, and all this other files and computers. It beats me every time when people say that. If mediocrity becomes the norm, that's when people will say that, and that's my own opinion. Because I grew up in a Nigeria where, when I go to a health center, the compound alone for the people to park cars if you have cars, and the children to run around when the ones who are not ill to play. You're from Edo State, I believe.
By origin, yes.
Yes, your governor, and people were celebrating.
And my governor,
he was
the governor.
He was
Let me correct you. My governor is the governor of Lagos State. Okay. This is where I pay my taxes.
Good.
Okay. This is where I reside.
Okay. Your state of origin.
No, I need to finish. Because, and Olive, I've told you to go and check this. There is nowhere in the Constitution that says state of origin.
Let's pause, please. We have Tochukwu.
I need to.
We need to take Tochukwu. Tochukwu, please go ahead with your conversation.
All right, Tochukwu, go on.
Yeah, hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Loud
and clear.
Okay. I saw the caption on the morning daily talking about NNPC lamenting about losses that they are incurring from the bank strike. Are they supposed to be lamenting? They ought to fix what we have. They ought to fix our resources and make things work for us. That is why that NNPC was set up in the first place. If they are lamenting about losses, can they please tell us about the profits that they've made over the years? Where has those profits gone to? How was it used? Was it, properly channeled to where it's meant to go? There's so many questions we need to ask them, not to come out to tell us that they lost so certain amount for just a 24 hours new paying strike or whatever, which was not even supposed to take place in the first place. Please, we need to be very, very serious about this country. We are running a country. We are not running. We are not running a toy factory.
Thank you so much for calling, Honor. Engineer. Okay, you wanted to ask?
Yes, and I need to also apologize to you, Olive, because I'm always fond of saying Olive, your Delta State, actually your Lagos State. I need to correct myself and say your state of origin. By the way, the governor of your state of origin, His Excellency Governor Monday Okpebolo, just yesterday or recently, I'm sure you've seen the video.
Yeah, two days ago.
Where he was inspecting projects and he was walking in a gutter. And people were praising him like, this is an action and
so happy to
action governor that is working on infrastructure projects. And that just talks to the point of what you were saying about we lowering the bar of governance and, celebrating what
mediocrity.
Normal. Yeah. Commissioning of, by the way, he's working, I find it strange that after all these years and the level of caliber of people that have come out of your state of origin, that the construction of the first ever, and I'm looking forward to celebrating that, flyover is currently under process. It's currently under construction in your state. I hope you will pop some champagne for my colleagues and I on the set when that flyover has been commissioned.
Vivian, please permit me to laugh.
Please feel free to laugh. It's Benga. You must laugh.
The stories we have are too stressful. Let's laugh.
Benga's second calling is to be a comedian. I really don't know why you're just reading the news and doing OAP.
I'm not laughing. I'm saying this with a serious face.
And I can see the seriousness in your
Exactly.
But you see, whether it's a flyover or it's a bridge or is a road, the responsibility of government is to provide social infrastructure so that taxpayers and the people of the community can go about and create the economy and ensure that consumer spending continues to grow. New wealth is created. If a governor decides to descend so low, in my own opinion, and be walking inside the gutter, then I don't know what the responsibility of the director of works.
Or the commissioner.
No, I didn't say PAMSEC. I said director. And I'm not even talking about a senior director, maybe assistant director level, who should be managing those kind of projects. And they just know that this is what happens. Let's stop all this. I grew up in a country, and I continue to say that Outer Marina was built in 18 months. That flyover that connects Awolowo Road.
Oh, yes.
It was built in 18 months to Outer Marina. That's your Third Mainland Bridge extension. It was built in 24 to 36 months. Third Mainland was built from 1980 till 1983, before the military struck again. It was built up to where? Adekunle.
Oh,
you
so
didn't know.
What did I do?
Oh, you didn't know.
I didn't know.
Like now you know.
Yes.
And those who know. So let's
So what
be
did
clear.
IBB build?
IBB?
Yes.
He took it to Yanowuru. And in the Lagos Master Plan, that has been, and the Lagos Master Plan is not just for Lagos State, because Lagos was the federal capital. It was both a federal and state, what's it called? The Lagos Metro Line, 360-degree train system that was going to connect the whole of Lagos, and we are chopping it in bits and parts. The Fourth Mainland Bridge was there, that's supposed to pass that. This one that you are building, Lagos Calabar, they are all part of all these things. Where do you think all these things came from? Oh, one person just woke up one morning and put it there. Lagos had a master plan that was going to continually change and evolve. So let's be right. Where a governor, and I say it again, where a governor is entering inside a gutter and is not an assistant director, maybe even a supervisor in the Ministry of Works, then you can imagine where we are as a country. if we want to grow in terms of economy. Where today is the website of the state that tells us this is what the governor does, rather than me go out and say, wow, this place is new today. I lived in Surulere most part of my life. Ipori that everybody sees today. When my parents moved us to Surulere in 1979, it was a swamp. But by 1981, we could drive down Bode Thomas to the end of Ipori Road.
Because development was very fast.
But they did the things. They did the dry season checks. They did the rainy season checks. They built those houses. Are the concrete that they used to build those houses. They are stronger than the concrete that we are using to do.
I agree.
What's it called? And politicians are beginning to beautify people's own houses. Not my own, that I we built with our own money, but the one that got, because those houses belong to the people who bought them. They bought them. They don't belong to Lagos State. Let nobody make that mistake. They belong, and
it was
those
built
people pay
by
for their
Lagos
salaries.
State. Yeah.
No, they were staff. They were staff of the Lagos State government. They were workers of the Lagos State government who paid for those things. Grade level 1 to 6 or 7. Well, anyway, let's leave it at that. And is there something else we want to talk about?
We are out of time, unfortunately.
Yes, sir, so
There's nothing
go
else that we can talk about.
And
But just to
we'll
respond to someone on YouTube, Annie Chinedu Brown, you've been asking for Mr. Amechi. I've seen the comments. I think I've seen it twice. Mr. Amechi is away on holiday, and he'll soon be back. And when he's back, he'll join us here. No, we did not.
He deserves a
sign him.
break. Come on.
He deserves a break. He needs to rest.
Like you went on break.
You went on your own
Yes,
break.
so let all of us
Exactly.
Let's-
So,
You know the good thing
so that
about
it's stress.
analysts is, man, they love international breaks. And then they will be pointing fingers at Mr. President. Can't he go to Ikogosi Warm Spring?
but they don't go to
They
Kogosi.
don't
When
go
it's
to
time,
Ikogosi Warm
one of
Spring.
Canada, one of America, one of
Sometimes you
London.
need to be calling out some of these analysts.
Exactly, especially these rich ones. These very rich ones. And
I don't know how rich we are, but that's fine.
that being said, thank you so much.
Always
Thank you for having me as always.
Have you?
Thank you.
We will be out of the studio and back again tomorrow. Jasiri will continue as soon as we head out of the studio. Thank you to our online audience, our virtual guests, as well as those who've joined us physically. Remember that you can engage with News Central on YouTube at News Central TV, as well as on all social media platforms. We'll be back again tomorrow. I am Olive MOD.
And I'm Benga Boros. See you tomorrow.
Joe Hansen here.
Au revoir.